and I think it was her husband died, and she was a very attractive widow. And boy, the guys are sniffing around her door all the time, trying to get her to fall in love with them, or at least do the wild thing with them. And it's how she defends herself and keeps her faith, because she does not want to hook up with somebody who's Catholic. She wants to stay Lutheran or Episcopal. And so this story, goes through how she manipulates and works this, because she doesn't want to offend anybody, because they might have her put to death. So, there's some great parts of the story. I think part of the story is going to be when she's walking in the garden and the guy's peeking through the shrubs.
Am I going to be embarrassed to read something?
Oh, no. It is not I said it's a Hallmark story.
Okay.
Hallmark story has nothing embarrassing.
No, it is not.
But it's a love story, and
Okay.
kind of this love story isn't her falling for another guy. She's in love with her faith, and she wants to be true to her faith. The introduction in my Bible says, conversely, the author affirms that the proper response to God's action is an avoidance of political and religious involvement with pagan nations, and an uncompromising observance of the Torah in true Jewish fidelity and piety. So, don't get wrapped up with some flaky pagan. And so she really, it really is a nice story. And
So we'll start that next week?
yeah, we'll get into that next week. And I'll share with you also that the commentary says Martin Luther regarded the book of Judith as an allegory of Jesus' passion. That, being true when you're being tortured. And that it could have an Aramaic or Hebrew origin. And so it really is, it's a nice story. I don't know, we got a few minutes. Should we just start? Judith.
It was the 12th year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, who ruled over the Assyrians in the great city of Nineveh. In those days, Arphaxad ruled over the Medes in Ecbatana. He built walls around Ecbatana in hewn stones 3 cubits thick and 6 cubits long. He made the walls 70 cubits high and 50 cubits wide. At its gates he raised towers 100 cubits high and 60 cubits wide at the foundations. He made its gates 70 cubits high and 40 cubits wide to allow his armies to march out in force and his infantry to form their ranks. Then King Nebuchadnezzar made war against King Arphaxad in the great plain that is on the borders of Raguel. There rallied to him all the people of the hill country and all those who lived along the Euphrates, the Tigris, the Hydaspes, and on the plain Arioch, king of the Elamians. Thus many nations joined the forces of the Chaldeans. Then Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, sent messengers to all who lived in Persia, and to all who lived in the west, those who lived in Cilicia and Damascus, Lebanon and anti-Lebanon, and all who lived along the sea coast, and those among the nations of Carmel and Gilead and Upper Galilee, and the great plain of Esdraelon, and all who were in Samaria and its towns, and beyond the Jordan as far as Jerusalem and Bethany, and Chelis and Kadesh, and the river of Egypt, and Taphanes and Ramses and the whole land of Goshen, even beyond Tanis and Memphis, and all who lived in Egypt as far as the borders of Ethiopia. But all who lived in the whole region disregarded the summons of Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, and refused to join him in the war, for they were not afraid of him, but regarded him as only one man. So they sent back his messengers empty-handed and in disgrace. Then Nebuchadnezzar became very angry with this whole region and swore by his throne and kingdom that he would take revenge on the whole territory of Cilicia and Damascus and Syria, that he would kill with his sword also all the inhabitants of the land of Moab and the people of Ammon and all Judea, and everyone in Egypt as far as the coasts of the two seas. In the 17th year, he led his forces against King Arphaxad and defeated him in battle, overthrowing the whole army of Arphaxad and all his cavalry and all his chariots. Thus he took possession of his towns and came to Ecbatana, captured its towers, plundered its markets, and turned its glory into disgrace. He captured Arphaxad in the mountains of Ragu and struck him down with his spears, thus destroying him once and for all. Then he returned to Nineveh, he and all his combined forces, a vast body of troops. And there he and his forces rested and feasted for 120 days.
Okay. I'm always amazed when we read, some scripture, when we keep running across names that are cities in this country. Memphis,
Oh, yeah.
Carmel.
They were named after the ones in North America, right?
Yeah.
Not that those people, that when they came here, brought those names with them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of interesting, when you don't stop to think, Memphis. Well, Memphis is mentioned actually earlier in the Old Testament. And so when I read Memphis, I'm thinking Elvis.
That's where the king resided.
Yeah. So, but it's, in this story, now Nebuchadnezzar, they want to worship him as a king. That's a bad thing for Jews.
Yeah.
They worship only the Lord. And he's conquered these other places. So he's powerful. And here we have this young Hebrew woman, who's very intelligent and very beautiful. And she's going to have to deal with a situation that it'd be difficult for anyone to have to deal with.
So chapter 1 just kind of laid the groundwork for
Yes.
what's to come, huh?
That's right. And in one of the translations, it says the battle of Ecbatana. Is that how you pronounce
Ecbatana? I've never heard that word before, so I just said that.
it? Okay.
Ecbatana.
That's gotta be right.
Yeah.
Good enough for us.
In Greek literature, it says that the city's beauty was turned into shame when it was conquered. So, the Greeks had written about this. I mean, so this is a religious story, but, battles were not just limited to being described in the Hebrew Bible. Greeks talked about it. Romans talked about it. This area where Nebuchadnezzar, this is southern Turkey. So, there are other people. We keep forgetting, I think, sometimes, I know I do, that there's the rest of the world. And, while Nebuchadnezzar is conquering here, somebody is conquering there. I mean, at this time, the Romans are increasing their power. And, they're going to take over this land eventually. But, it's not just Nebuchadnezzar and Israel, but remember, Egypt is still a powerful place, and Persia, which we eventually bomb. But that's, you know, Iraq, or Iran.
Yeah.
I remember when I was traveling, well, we'll pick up at chapter 2, I want to stop the recording.